I'll be speaking about Denmark today, my observations, likes, dislikes. I'm not going to get into a lot of the things that is written on Google if you Google about Denmark, but let's get into it. Hi everyone, and welcome to Just Drew, a space where I talk about reinvention, renewal, and any musings I may have at the moment. Today, I talk about Denmark because I live in Denmark, and there's nothing really amazing about that. But from my perspective, there are many things that are interesting that I've never really spoken about, and I think they may be of interest to others. So, as you can see, the weather in Denmark is, um, yeah, it's not the weather that you'd be used to as an African. Like, I'm Kenyan, and the weather right now, when I woke up in the morning, I haven't checked the weather right now, but it was 7 degrees, and the real feel was 4 degrees in November. And one thing I like about this place and the people here is that's just the life they know. They're used to it. They don't complain about it. They just get on with it. You may see some people jogging behind me because I'm in the park, one of my favorite parks, actually, my favorite park. And they just get on with their life and figure it out. That's one thing I appreciate about Denmark, to be honest. They just have figured out how to continue living their lives despite this weather that is it's really the pits. And with that being said, the weather being the pits also brings me to the fact that life in Denmark is very monotonous. It's very, how can I put it? It's very structured, which is a good thing, especially if you've lived in an African country. You know what I mean when it comes to government and systems that don't work. Here, systems work perfectly. When they tell you to come at a certain time, you come at a certain time. You expect the services that you are going to get, and more often than not, you will be helped. And that's the good thing about it. On the flip side, when it comes to daily life, there's a monotony that is there that I haven't quite been able to be comfortable with. There's a lack of surprise or a lack of anything out of the ordinary happening. And if anything out of the ordinary happens, best believe it will be on the news and everybody will be talking about it for the longest time. Yes, the monotony is something that I've struggled with, and I'll see how to figure that out. But on the most part, summer is great here. It really is great. It's absolutely beautiful. And if you Google pictures of Denmark, most likely you'll get pictures of Denmark in the summer. Don't believe it. It is cold, I would say, more than 6 months of the year. It's quite something. And actually, it's cold more than 9 months of the year, let's be honest. Let me not try and sugarcoat things. This place is cold. Okay, enough of the cold. Summer is great. Summer is great. Summer is beautiful. We love summer. I love summer. I don't like the insects. There are many insects, but um, I love summer. Though I must say the number of bees has reduced. The first time I came to Denmark, there were bees everywhere, and they would like be on the windscreen of the cars, and there would be like a mass death of bees because they'll just be driving into cars. Sorry, they'll be flying into cars as the cars drive. But you don't see that anymore. You don't see that, and that's sad because I'm no scientist, but it means the bees are dying and they don't exist as they used to. And another thing that Denmark is really big on is free speech. Uh, you can say absolutely anything here. This is the place where they had the guy burning the Quran and just being really, really crazy. I think he's not allowed to do that anymore. I just stopped following his nonsense. But really, Denmark is really big on free speech, and it's nice, but I feel that it's taken overboard sometimes. I had a boss who'd always say, Danish, this the land of free speech, this and that and the other. And he'd always be spewing the worst nonsense. I was like, okay, it's free speech, but geez, think a little. And with that, there comes the limits of free speech. You know, you can get anybody saying anything and everything they want. But on the flip side, in the Danish workplace, there's a lot of equality. And when he would say something that's absolutely absurd, somebody would instantly counter him back. And I like that. And they wouldn't get, reprimanded or anything. It's just the way things are. Because you can have free speech and speak and say whatever it is you want. But on the flip side, somebody is going to counter you back and to counter you back as aggressively as you spoke. So there was a sort of balance, but it can become tiring. Let me put it that way. It can become tiring when you have to just like shut off your ears all the time or always have to walk away because somebody's just talking smack. Another thing I do appreciate about Denmark, and this is a weird one. Okay, it's not weird, but it's their film and TV. Like they have the most interesting TV shows and film. And my theory, I could be wrong, I could be right. If you know better, feel free to correct me, is that they do not have the amount of money to spend on their films and their TV like the Americans do. So they have to come up with a tight story, a good story. Um, and the stories and movies that in the movies and the TV shows that come up are quite something. Many of them have actually been converted into American movies, and every time I watch a Danish movie and I watch the American version, I'm just like, now, why did they have to go ahead and do this? Because there's something the Americans take away from Danish film. It's contexts. I don't know. I don't know what they do. Like, just leave the Danish film alone. I mean, there's subtitles. There's subtitles now. Just read and enjoy the Danish movies. And of course, Danes have like some of the most interesting directors. There's Susanne, is it Susanne Bier? I think that's her name. I love her movies, and every time I see her movies, I just look at the cinematography and all this, and I'm just like, this is definitely Susanne Bier. And of course, there's Lars von Trier, who hasn't made a movie in a while. The last movie I watched of Lars von Trier, geez, it was Melancholy. That movie was melancholic, needless to say. But I don't know if an American would make that movie. And the reason I'm saying American is because the American market is like huge when it comes to movies. That's why I'm just directing it to America. Maybe other countries would make similar movies. I don't know. But their TV and film is really, really top tier. I'll give them that. Of course, there's the concept of Hygge. 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 However way you pronounce that word, I'm going to spell it out on the screen. But that's it's a concept of creating comfort and being comfortable in your home and making your home a special place. And that absolutely makes sense because homes and housing and rental in Denmark, or let me say Copenhagen, are expensive. In fact, let me put a disclaimer. I've been saying Denmark a lot, but these experiences are solely Copenhagen based. I just visit other areas of the country and not that often. But yeah, the housing in Copenhagen is insane and it's so expensive. Purchasing an apartment here or a home, there are places like Hellerup, and which for if there are any people from Nairobi watching the video is like Muthaiga, and the houses there are crazy. And even in the area I live, it's called Ostebro. Again, my pronunciation. It has apartments that are like what 15 million krona. I saw one being sold for 15 million krona, and I'll write the conversion in dollars. An apartment So if I'm spending that much on an apartment, I better enjoy it, So you better create Hygge in there, burn all the candles, uh, cover your feet with all the blankets, do whatever you do to make your apartment comfortable. And many people spend a lot of their time in their apartments, which absolutely makes sense, because if you're spending all that time in your house, why the heck are you going out? What are you going out to spend money on? Enjoy your house, because that's where a large portion of um, your money and resources goes to. I like Hygge. That is something I'll always have with me. I'm always like, I like burning candles. I like the feel and the look, of course. And they're good candles. I know there's some candles that are crazy. Anyway, let's not go into that. Hygge is a nice concept to have coziness. And the renovations people have on their houses, the cost of renovations, because another big thing is buying like a rundown apartment and renovating it to be this upscale apartment, which you'll sell and again renovate. And the amount of money people spend on renovations in Copenhagen. I spoke to somebody once and he was like, I spent 200,000 krona renovating my apartment. And I was just like, this is different. But, different strokes for different folks. Yada, yada, yada. Blah, blah, blah. The last thing, one of the last things, let me see, I'll talk about Copenhagen or Denmark that I do not like is the use of or consumption of alcohol amongst children, children, young people, because you can buy alcohol at 16, and I think that's the legal drinking age. I don't know the specifics. I think there's an age for purchasing hard liquor, there's an age for purchasing wine, beer. People start drinking so young, and you see these children on the streets just guzzling cans of beer sometimes, and it's honestly, it's sad. I have a child here, and that will not fly with me. Yeah, I'm not even sorry about that. That is something I won't accept. I think alcohol destroys your brain, especially at such a young age. It's important to protect these things. I mean, I don't know how the rules for alcohol consumption came about, because Danes, to me, are pretty level headed. So, why is alcohol treated so differently? Why are you guzzling beer as a child? I don't know. I'm just, I'm a guest. I'm a guest. I'm just stating my observations, and that's that. If you're a Dane and you understand this, please comment below and help me understand, because, yeah, that's the most challenging thing for me. And of course, this is a very personal one. I won't talk about a lot about it because it has a lot of politics surrounding it, but there's a huge anti-Islamic rhetoric that goes around that, boy, is hard to be around. It's subtle, sometimes it's not so subtle. It's grounded in a lot of the political policies that are in this country. I don't follow politics much, but that is as clear as day. The anti-Islamic rhetoric, and yeah. That's the end of the video. I just thought it was interesting to give my perspective on Denmark. There are a few Danish channels I follow as well, and I just thought, because I'm in Copenhagen and it's a very metropolitan place. People call it a cozy village, which I would agree with. But that's my take on some of the things that are in Copenhagen. If you want to, um, learn about other things in Denmark, you can Google that. There are 1,000 articles written about it. The happiest place in the world, yada, yada, yada. I believe it's more like the most content place in the world because people's needs are taken care of. It's rare to see a homeless person, a hungry person, a starving person, but there are many depressed and sad people. There are many people with challenges like there are in other places in the world. No way is perfect. So, if you like this content, please like, subscribe. If you have any comments, please share them below. If you can correct me about anything I've said about Denmark, I'm happy to learn, To learn is human. If you're not learning, you're not growing. Thanks for watching, and bye.